What if the dry, sticky feeling you wake up with every single morning isn't just an annoyance, but your body quietly sending you a warning signal you have been ignoring for months, maybe years? That dryness could be an early sign of undetected type 2 diabetes, an autoimmune condition called Sjögren syndrome, or serious damage to the glands that produce your saliva. The longer it goes unrecognized, the longer the damage continues silently, every single day. One simple fasting glucose test, available at most labs for around $14, could give you answers that change everything. I have seen this pattern more times than I can count. A 67-year-old retired teacher came to me completely convinced her dry mouth was nothing more than a side effect of her blood pressure medication. It was partly that, but it was not only that. Her A1C came back at 8.4, placing her firmly in diabetic range. She had no idea. I am a physician, and what I want to talk to you about today is something most doctors are not investigating the way they should be. When a patient mentions dry mouth, it is almost always brushed aside as a medication side effect or just a normal part of getting older. It is rarely treated as a signal worth following. But your mouth and lips are actually one of the first places your body shows signs of deeper metabolic and autoimmune problems happening on the inside. Right now, 1 in 3 Americans over the age of 65 has prediabetes or undiagnosed type 2 diabetes, and most of them will not find out until years of damage have already been done. That teacher I mentioned, she was eating reasonably well, staying active, and felt healthy enough. Her routine checkup had not caught it. Her mouth had been trying to tell us the whole time. Today, I am going to show you exactly what I showed her. Before we get into the signs themselves, I need to address something important, because there is a good chance that as you watch this video, part of your brain is going to try to explain every single one of them away, and I completely understand why. These signs are not new to you. You have been living with some of them for months, possibly years, and you've already found perfectly reasonable explanations for all of them. I just didn't drink enough water yesterday. It's the dry weather. It's one of my medications. This is just what getting older feels like. And here's the thing. In some cases, those explanations are partially true. Medications can absolutely cause dry mouth. Weather can dry out your lips. Age does change the way your body works. But partial explanations are exactly how serious conditions stay hidden for so long. Your brain is very good at finding the most comfortable explanation for a symptom and then filing it away so you can get on with your day. That is a completely normal mental process. But when it comes to your health, it can cost you years. Every single sign I am about to show you has been dismissed by real patients sitting across from me in a real exam room, using words very similar to the ones I just listed. The problem was never that the signs were invisible. The problem was that they were so familiar, so easy to explain away, that no one ever stopped to ask whether something deeper was going on. So I am asking you to do one thing as you watch the rest of this video. Do not decide in advance that a sign does not apply to you. Just listen, recognize, and let the information land. You do not have to be sick to find this useful, but if something here does apply to you, I want you to have the knowledge to act on it. That starts right now. The first sign is one you have probably experienced this very morning. You wake up, your mouth feels dry and sticky, and you tell yourself it is because you slept with your mouth open. That may be partly true, but here is what is also true. Saliva production naturally drops by 40 to 50% while you sleep. In a healthy body, it bounces back quickly once you are awake and moving. But when insulin resistance is present, the hormonal signals that restart that recovery cycle get disrupted, and the dryness lingers. Think of it like a car engine that should warm up in about 60 seconds. If it is still struggling after 20 minutes, something is wrong under the hood. The American Diabetes Association has identified chronic dry mouth, known clinically as xerostomia, as an early marker linked to insulin resistance. Starting tomorrow morning, check the clock when you wake up and note when the dryness actually clears. The second sign shows up at the corners of your lips, small cracks or peeling skin that you have been blaming on cold weather or dry air. This condition is called angular cheilitis, and it is frequently caused by deficiencies in B vitamins, particularly B2, B3, and B12, or low iron levels. Both are extremely common in postmenopausal women, especially those taking metformin or acid-reducing medications. Research has shown that long-term metformin use significantly depletes B12 in adults over 60. The corners of your lips are like the caulking around a window. When the materials inside the wall are breaking down, the edges crack first. Check your multivitamin label today, because most standard formulas contain B12 in a form and dose that the body struggles to absorb after 60. The third sign is thirst that simply does not go away no matter how much water you drink. When blood sugar is elevated, the kidneys work overtime pulling fluid from your tissues to flush the excess glucose out through urine. It is like mopping a floor while the tap is still running. You can never catch up. The CDC recognizes this persistent thirst, called polydipsia, as a commonly overlooked early symptom of diabetes in older adults. Pay attention to whether your thirst actually responds to water or whether it keeps coming back regardless. The fourth sign is a white or coated tongue when you look in the mirror each morning. Most people assume everyone has this, and it means nothing beyond bad morning breath. But a consistently coated tongue can signal an overgrowth of oral bacteria, or a yeast called Candida, both of which thrive when saliva flow is low and blood sugar is high. Saliva is your mouth's built-in defense system. Without enough of it, harmful organisms multiply overnight. Research shows that oral Candida overgrowth is significantly more common in women over 60 with type 2 diabetes. For the next 7 mornings, look at your tongue before you brush and ask yourself honestly, is this clearing or is it always there?
I want to pause here for a moment because we are halfway through the signs, and I think it is worth stopping to ask you something directly. Has any of what I just described shown up in your life? Not in a vague, general way, but specifically. The dry mouth that takes a while to clear. The cracked corners of your lips that keep coming back no matter what you put on them. The thirst that water never seems to fully fix. The coated tongue you have been looking at every morning and brushing off as nothing. Or maybe you're not thinking about yourself right now. Maybe you're thinking about your spouse, your sister, your closest friend, someone whose face came to mind while you were watching. If any of this sounds familiar, I want you to do one thing right now. Type the word mouth in the comments below. That is it. Just that one word. It takes 3 seconds, and it tells me that this information is reaching the people who actually need it. I read every comment that comes in, not because I have to, but because the patterns I see in your responses genuinely shape what I make next. When you share what you are experiencing, you are not just helping yourself. You are helping me help the next person who finds this video. We are not done yet. The next signs are the ones most people have never once connected to their health, and they may be the most important ones of all. The fifth sign is one that most people never think to connect, and that disconnect is exactly why it gets missed for so long. If you have dry mouth, and you also frequently deal with dry, irritated eyes, those two things may not be separate problems at all. Together, they can be an early signal of Sjögren syndrome, an autoimmune condition where the body's immune system mistakenly attacks the glands that produce moisture, including saliva and tears. It affects an estimated 4 million Americans,
and roughly 90% of them are women. What makes it particularly dangerous is that it takes an average of 2.8 years to receive a correct diagnosis. A 71-year-old former nurse had been using eye drops every single day for 3 years and had simply accepted her dry mouth as a side effect of her antihistamines. When the right antibody tests were ordered, specifically an ANA panel and anti-SSA antibodies, the picture became very clear very fast. Starting today, pay attention to whether your dry mouth and dry eyes tend to get worse at the same time. That pattern of co-occurrence is clinically meaningful and worth reporting to your doctor.
The sixth sign is something you may be doing right now without realizing it carries any significance. If you find yourself reaching for water to wash down dry foods like bread, crackers, or rice, you may have been dismissing it as just needing more fluid with meals. But saliva does more than keep your mouth comfortable. It actually starts the digestive process and helps form food into a shape the throat can move safely. Without adequate saliva flow, that process breaks down. The American Speech-Language Hearing Association reports that swallowing difficulties affect a significant portion of adults over 65, and the condition often progresses slowly enough that people adapt to it without ever flagging it as a problem. The key question is not whether it happens occasionally, it is whether it has been gradually getting worse over months. The seventh sign is one that almost nobody connects, but that clinicians notice immediately when both pieces are present together. If you are waking up 2 or 3 times a night to urinate, and then waking in the morning with a dry mouth, those two things are very likely sharing the same root cause. When blood sugar runs high overnight, the kidneys work to filter out the excess glucose by pushing it into the urine, and they pull fluid from the body to do it. The result is frequent nighttime urination and a body that is measurably more dehydrated by morning. Data from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey has linked nocturia directly to undiagnosed diabetes in adults over 60. Think of it as 2 warning lights on the same dashboard. Most people take them to 2 different mechanics when they actually share the same engine. This is the one almost nobody talks about. I have never seen it covered in a standard patient education pamphlet. And in my experience, most primary care visits end without it ever being named. Patients have lived with it for years, quietly, assuming it means nothing or that they imagined it. Once you know what it is, you will never unsee it. It is a burning or scalding sensation on the tongue, the roof of the mouth, or the inside of the lips, with no visible cause. No sore, no redness, no obvious injury. Just a feeling of heat or tingling that comes and goes, or in some cases stays. Most people who experience it assume it is acid reflux creeping up, or a reaction to their toothpaste, or simply another thing to add to the list of getting older. They never mention it at a doctor's appointment because they do not think it rises to that level. It does. This condition has a name, burning mouth syndrome, or BMS. Research published in the Journal of Oral Pathology and Medicine shows it affects up to 15% of postmenopausal women. It is directly connected to the drop in estrogen that happens after menopause, which affects how nerve signals are processed in the mouth. It can also be linked to small fiber neuropathy, subtle nerve damage that in some cases is an early sign of diabetic nerve involvement. Think of it like a phantom fire alarm. The building is not necessarily on fire, but the system that is supposed to regulate the alarm is under enough stress that it keeps misfiring. The nerves are sending a signal. The question is what that signal means for your specific situation. Tonight, before you go to bed, sit somewhere quiet and pay attention. Is there any warmth, tingling, or mild burning in your mouth that you have simply gotten used to ignoring? If the answer is yes, write it down. Bring that note to your next appointment. It has a name, it has a treatment, and it deserves to be taken seriously. Here is the one thing I want you to do. Not 8 things,
not a list of lifestyle changes to start on Monday. One thing. Call your doctor's office tomorrow morning and ask for a fasting glucose test and an HbA1c test. The fasting glucose test measures your blood sugar at a single point in time. The HbA1c test shows the average level of sugar in your blood over the past 2 to 3 months, giving a much fuller picture of what has actually been happening inside your body. Together, these two tests are among the most reliable and widely used tools for detecting prediabetes and type 2 diabetes in their earlier stages. At most certified labs, the cost runs between $14 and $30. And for the majority of people watching this, both tests are fully covered under Medicare's annual wellness visit at no out-of-pocket cost. You do not need to be feeling sick to ask for them. You do not need a dramatic symptom to justify the conversation. You watched this video, you recognized some of what you heard, and that is reason enough.
Here is what I want you to understand as you close this video. Your mouth has been keeping a record. Every morning when you woke up with that dry, sticky feeling and reached for a glass of water, your body was logging something. Every cracked lip corner, every persistent thirst, every night you got up twice to use the bathroom, those were entries in a record your body has been writing for months, possibly years. You now have the information to read that record. Most people your age do not. That is not a small thing. So do not keep it to yourself. Share this video with your spouse tonight. Send it to your sister this week. Not because they are definitely dealing with something serious, but because they have probably noticed at least one of these signs, brushed it off with a perfectly reasonable explanation, and never once been told what it might actually mean. Now, they can be. If this video gave you something you did not have before, a name for something you have been feeling, a connection you had never made, a reason to finally make that call, then hit the like button before you go. It takes 1 second, and it tells me directly that this kind of content is worth making more of. That is genuinely how I decide what to cover next. If you are not subscribed yet, now is a good time to do that. The videos coming up cover the kinds of signs and patterns that most people only find out about years too late, and I want you to have that information before it becomes urgent, not after. And before you close this out, leave one word in the comments below. If anything in this video resonated with you, if you recognized a sign, if you thought of someone you love, if you are going to make that call tomorrow morning, type the word mouth. Just that one word. If you have a specific question you want me to answer in a future video, type the word question and add whatever you want to know. I read the comments, I look for the patterns, and what you share directly shapes what I make next. Thank you for watching this all the way through. That tells me you take your health seriously, and that matters. The information in this video is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to give you back something that the standard medical system does not always make time for. A clear explanation of what your body may have been trying to tell you, in plain language, so you can walk into your next appointment informed and ready to ask the right questions. You have that now. Use it. I will see you in the comments.